Good afternoon, children. Today we are going to start with electrolytic refining. Electrolytic refining. Yesterday I start with the distillation method. Now I am going to start with electrolytic refining. Here I am going to draw the diagram. In this experiment I am going to extract the pure copper from the impure copper one. This is impure copper rod. Impure copper connected to voltmeter and thin rod of pure copper as thin rod. Copper sulfate solution, electrolyte is copper sulfate. Copper sulfate solution is the electrolyte. Impure copper is taken as anode. More reactive part is anode, less reactive part is cathode. So pure copper is cathode. On passing current moving in this direction, impurities are settled down. Anode mud, that is containing gold and silver impurities are settled down. So impurities are settled down. Suppose traces of gold and silver impurities present means that will come out as anode mud. That siliceous sand, impurities and all those things. Anode electron moves in this direction. Now the reaction. Impure copper acts as anode, pure copper acts as cathode. In anode, oxidation type of reaction takes place. Cathode reduction type of reaction taking place. In the anode reaction, copper, you bring copper 2 plus 2 electrons. This is an anode reaction. In cathode reaction, Cu2 plus gains 2 electrons to give Cu. Copper sulfate containing Cu2 plus SO4 2 minus. The Cu2 plus in the solution, this is electrolyte. This one is called electrolyte. Electrolyte is a salt solution which conducts electricity. Whenever copper sulfate dissolved in water, it ionized as copper 2 plus and SO4 2 minus. This copper 2 plus gains 2 electron and then pasted over here as painted over the surface of pure copper. After the reaction, you have to weigh the pure copper. Weight of the copper increases. How can it increases? Because of adding the copper 2 ions present in the solution gains electron and it will form the copper pasted over the surface of ion strip. This is the reaction taking place in the anode compartment and the cathode compartment. The anode, due by passing current, the impurities are removed as anode mud. After the reaction, we have to remove the impurities. This is the electrolytic cell. It is pasted with copper. It is filled with copper sulfate solution. Anode compartment containing impure copper. Cathode compartment containing pure copper connected by a voltmeter. Current moving towards the anode. Impurities easily melted. Impure metals melted easily when compared to pure metal. So impurities in the metal easily melted and settle down as anode mud. It contains traces of gold and silver impurities because copper containing gold and silver impurities traces. So it will be anode mud. The electrons from this point, electrons are from the molten metal move towards the cathode compartment. The copper 2 plus in the electrolyte gains the electron because I told electrolyte is the salt solution which conducts electricity. So the Cu2 plus gains the electron from this. 1 mole of copper will give 2 electrons. So like that it will give more number of electrons. Electrons was gained by the copper 2 plus, it will form copper and it is pasted over the surface of ion strip. This is the electrolytic refining. This method is applicable for copper, silver, gold and other noble metals. We can use electrolytic refining. This is the liquefaction method. In this method, the metals have low melting point. Metals have low melting point when compared to the impurities. Compared to their impurities. So in this method, we have used for this method is applicable for zinc, tin, lead, etc. Zinc, tin, lead, SN. These metals have low melting point compared to the air impurities. Impurities melt at high temperature and the metal melt at low temperature. For such cases, we can use the liquefaction process. Block of crude metals are heated in the hot and at a lower temperature the metal get melted and it will be coming from the sloping hearth, and the impurities, solid impurities are settled down at the each blocks. Finally you get a pure metal. This is called your liquefaction method. From this diagram it is connected by surrounded by a refractory lining, steel lining. It can withstand a higher temperature. Sloping earth is a one which can allows the molten liquid to pass through it. Molten or liquid pure metal. It is coming out. It's a big container which allows only the liquid. The solid impurities are settled down in the gaps, each blocks. In this way we can separate the metal and this low melting point metal and the impurities. So this is the diagram for zone refining. Here the mobile heater, this is called the mobile heater or induction coil. In this diagram, this method is based on the principle of fractional crystallization method. That is, the impurities are more soluble in the molten state when compared to the solid state. That is the principle for this method. So when a metal means it contains some impurities in a particular area, the impurities are maximum means with the help of current we are using the mobile heater, circular mobile heater all over the metal at a particular zone. The metal get breakdown or it will be the metal gets breakdown or it will be melted. It shows that the particular part containing impurities more. This is a noble gas. Noble gas is passed here because noble gas will not allow the metal to oxidize. Noble gases like helium, neon, krypton, argon, xenon, radon, all these elements will not allow to allow further oxidation of the metal. So that's the work of noble gas. In this method, we have to purify the elements like silicon, germanium, gallium, indium, 13th group element, all 13th group element except boron and aluminium. So this group is used for separating the impurities from the metal. In the molten state, all the circular heater moves from the impure area. What happened? The impurities in the metal are melted and it is stored in the mobile heater, and the solid in the material as crystallized like this, crystallized, purified. Crystallized, recrystallized means purified, purification, purified form. What happened while moving the mobile heater? The impurities present in the metal, impure metal. So impurities melted and settled on the mobile heater, and the pure part will moving here. Pure part. 4 to 5 times we are doing like this. 4 to 5 times with the help of the mobile heater we are moving like this, means impurities easily melted. So impurities are settled on the mobile heater induction zone, which is induction zone works in the help of current. The pure metals are crystallized in the form of recrystallized powder inside. So in this way we can separating the impure metal of silicon, germanium, gallium, indium. This is very important because silicon, nowadays silicon are used in IT department, computer, highly sophisticated instruments, in the IC integrated circuit, memory are all made up of silicon. So silicon is a very important element. That's why we are using the zone refining method. In zone refining method, the mobile heater is very important. It is used to separate the impurity and the pure metal. A metal containing metal inside containing impurity, you are passing current outside. What happens? Impurities first melt and the pure form crystallizes, solidifies. So the impurities are settled on the mobile heater. After the reaction, we can remove the impurities in the mobile heater and the pure part will be recrystallized. This is the technique used in the zone refining. Here children, this is the Mons process of refining nickel. This is the equation. Nickel is heated in the stream of carbon monoxide environment. It will form nickel tetracarbonyl. It undergoes further heating to 440 to 450 to 470 Kelvin. Carbon monoxide gas eliminates, nickel stored in the nickel pellet. See the diagram I will tell you. See, it's containing crude nickel, it containing impurities. These nickel are passed through this container and reaches this area containing the decomposition tower containing carbon monoxide, So in this area it will convert it as nickel tetracarbonyl complex, the intermediate. This is an intermediate. So nickel tetracarbonyl, and further heating and the nickel tetracarbonyl further heating, nickel is stored here as nickel pellets. Nickel stored here as nickel pellets. This is where nickel pellets is formed. This gap areas and nickel pellets is formed. Nickel is stored as nickel pellets. So on the remaining carbon monoxide coming from here and it will recirculated, carbon monoxide gas release recirculated. Further it will react with nickel and again nickel tetracarbonyl formed, again heated to this tetracarbonyl heated to 452, here 450 to 470, here 330 to 350 degree Kelvin. So the temperature difference between the two containers. So in this zone the nickel retained as nickel pellets. This is the thing we got. This is purified. This is impure nickel. So this is important diagram. So with the help of this diagram, we can understand the concept. Nickel react with tetracarbonyl at this temperature. It will form nickel tetracarbonyl here. Again, it enters into this fractionating column. Nickel stored as nickel pellets in the gaps, and the gas coming out. CO is coming out as CO is coming out. And this CO will be recirculated. Again it reacts with crude nickel. Again it forms a nickel tetracarbonate. Decomposition tower. Decomposition takes place. Again all those things are happening. Okay. This is the very important one more question. The Mons process, especially separating the nickel reaction. Mons process is for separating the nickel from its impurity. It is a very important diagram. Once again I repeat, this zone containing impure nickel, it will mix with carbon monoxide in this zone and it will form nickel tetracarbonyl complex. And after this, the nickel will be stored here. Again we are heating to high temperature. nickel retained here and carbon monoxide gas alone coming out, and it is recirculated. Again the carbon monoxide react here, again it become nickel tetrachloride. It is a continuous process. Finally you get the, you remove the container and you will get a crude nickel, refined nickel is there. Okay, already crude methods, concentration, froth flotation, then smelting, lot of processes completed. After completing this, we will refine this method. Mons process is important method. One more question they may ask.
Start.
This method is similar to your Mons process. During the Mons process, the nickel react with carbon monoxide to form nickel tetracarbonyl volatile impurities, gaseous impurity that will settle on the second container. In that container, the lot of fractionating columns are there. Round that fractionating column filters the nitrogen and removes the carbon monoxide. That slowly that nitrogen filters the nickel and removing the carbon monoxide. These nickel particles are cooling gives nickel pellets that we already discussed. Same type of process, Van Arkel method. In this method, you have to remove the volatile gases like nitrogen and oxygen or impurities present in the metal, means that can be removed by the Van Arkel process. This method is also similar to your Mons process. The one container containing impurities, here also one container containing impurities. Impure, then it is passed to another container. In that container, this is also similar to your Mons process. So what happened is that one containing impurity, here sieves are there. This fractionating column filters the volatile impurities. Suppose this is crude zirconium. Crude zirconium and titanium can be separated by the purified by the Van Arkel method. Crude zirconium. Carbon, here also you are using iodine, evacuated iodine chamber. Evacuated iodine chamber. This iodine chamber allows this zirconium to form Zr I4. This Zr will be filtered here and I2 gas again passed through I2. I2 react with again zirconium, crude zirconium. So like that only it will happen. It is similar to Mons process. The zirconium will be stored here as zirconium pellets, impurities, stored in this fractionating column. This column filters the volatile impurities. This is a volatile intermediate. This volatile intermediate is zirconium alone filtered in the fractionating column. Iodine is passed away. Iodine were taken as recirculation. Again it reacts with the crude zirconium. Impurities are evaporated as oxygen. Impurities are evaporated as oxygen and nitrogen. And the zirconium will be settled here. And iodine again reacted 4 to 5 times. We are doing like this, means impurities like oxygen and nitrogen in the metal will be removed. This is called your Van Arkel method. Column chromatography. Today the last topic of the lesson is column chromatography. I have drawn 3 diagrams which explains the nature of column chromatography. Suppose we have to separate the component present in the chlorophyll, component present in the urine, component present in the blood, that are microporous, very small quantity present, means we have to separate by column chromatography. Column chromatography contains one mobile phase and one stationary phase. Mobile phase means the solvent is continuously moving. Stationary phase means it is not moving, immobile. Stationary phase is made up of aluminum oxide, alumina or silica that is used, that is pasted on the plates of the stationary stationary phase. So when the first the column containing the mixture of component A and B. The component A and B are separated using a mobile column chromatography. Component A and B are passed through the column chromatography. That after passing, A component is in the top and B component in the middle, which means that A component is more soluble when compared to the B component. A component more soluble in the stationary phase when compared to the B component. That is why the B component are less soluble in the stationary phase. So far it is moving quicker and it is filtered fastly. So that is the thing. In the third stage, we are using suitable solvent, external solvent used to separate the A component and the stationary phase. That is called eluent. Eluent is used as a additional solvent to separate the solubility between the A component and the stationary phase. Wherever the A component, B component settled, in the chromatography, color bands are formed. Colored bands also formed when the A and B components settled in the column chromatography. After the reaction, we have to remove each columns, clean the columns, and again you add alumina, cool it, and you have to settle in the column chromatography. Step by step we are doing this method. This method is highly specific. The urine containing very micro porous impurities, chlorophyll containing lot of components, not impurities, components present. We have to separate that component. Chlorophyll present in plants. We have to separate the components in chlorophyll, means we can use this column chromatography. Blood containing platelets and all other components are there, that also separated by this column chromatography. So commercially, column chromatography is a very important technique. This is not coming for the purification of metal and all. This is a special type of separating technique. It is used to separate the very small quantity of impurities present in the material, and the size of the impurity is very, very small, and we have to separate by this method. Not only impurity, but some components present, A and B components mixed together. Suppose A plus B plus C, three components mixing together, means you have to get three color bands in the column chromatography, and using suitable eluent we can separate the components one by other. This is the very important method. Thank you. Have a nice day. God bless you, children. So you have to go through all the 5, 6 refining techniques. Thank you.